Which way will it go then? The next couple of hours will decide the fate of the title, the decider, the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. Commentary from Martin Brundle and David Croft.
Around the world in 20 Grand Prix, enjoying the thrills and...
Simple afternoon. Quite a dark visor on there as well. I used to prefer a lighter or even a clear visor in these conditions because you never know just how hard it's going to rain. That's a medium tint that Alonso's got on there, and tension all around.
Just focused, Fernando Alonso there. I wonder if he's just looking over to the left, where Sebastian Vettel is on the grid as well, in a position, Martin, where if he is just a bit too cautious, he could well end up getting trapped and in no man's land.
Absolutely. I guess they've just got to go and race and pretend it's just another Formula One race.
Surely for that man, it's not another Formula One race. Michael Schumacher, who went to the grid with a large flag that just said thank you on it, blowing kisses already. I just hope he has a Michael Schumacher storming race. I hope Lewis Hamilton in his last race in McLaren bows out with an absolute cracker as well. All subplots to the main championship battle. You just want to see these guys do well.
Yeah, so many of them need a race victory or need to go into the winter with a good result. Several drivers on the grid we're not expecting to see back next year as we look overhead. Felipe Massa, the local hero in many respects, and he's been going very well again, just as he was in Austin, and genuinely seems to have or be a match for Alonso these days.
Now look at that, the wet tyres all being rushed out. Are they coming towards the grid? Are they going away from the grid? We'll find out in a couple of moments. This is the starting grid, 60-second front row lockout for McLaren. Hope for Jenson Button. The last three winners here at Interlagos have all come from second on the grid. We saw Sebastian Vettel fourth. There's Fernando Alonso down in seventh. 3 world titles between row 4, all of which have been decided here in Brazil. Paul di Resta moves up into the top 10 because of Pastor Maldonado's penalty, and we'll see where he starts in a moment. His 8th penalty of the season for missing the weighbridge. Starts now down in 16th behind Michael Schumacher, who starts 13th in his final Grand Prix. Vitaly Petrov, for the 4th time in the last 5 races, has out-qualified his Caterham teammate Heikki Kovalainen, but unlike last week in Austin, the Caterham's ahead of the Marussias and the HRTs. It could well be the last ever race for HRT in Formula One. We'll see what happens next week. Down to Ted, drizzle in the air. Ted, I hope you got your brolly.
No, I haven't, unfortunately. Yes, David, it is drizzle. It's kind of a fine, misty rain, the kind you might get on a Scottish hill, but it is really expected to dry up, and that's why we're seeing the wet tyres being taken from the grid back to the garages, but the teams will be keeping a very close eye on it. The radar says...
Okay, there's only 3 cars on Prime, Roman and Schumacher, and one of the HRTs, everyone else on option.
So everyone else on the, everyone on the dry tyres that I can see. The car's set up with a little sort of wet compromises. Alonso, Michael Schumacher, the Toro Rossos and the Williams. And I tell you, I haven't seen the Sebastian Vettel or Christian Horner, for that matter, so nervous on the grid for a long time.
Yes, the laughing and the joking that were on the faces of the championship challengers when they came to the paddock on Thursday has long since disappeared.
I'm just saying that Kobayashi is on those hard compound tyres, which actually were warming up quite well, weren't they, in these kind of conditions in the early phases of qualifying yesterday. But it'll be all about, I mean, there's not enough water on there. The problem is, you know, when you're doing 190 miles an hour and the water's streaming off your visor, you always think that it's raining harder than it is. You're waiting for the car to slide, and actually the track tends to be drier than it really looks.
Schumacher, Kobayashi and Grosjean on the hard compound tyre. This is down at Descido de Largo. Now this is one of the lower points of the track, and a lot of water forming on the lens of the camera already, Martin.
And still coming down, so tense times. It's actually, I mean, to watch it, for us, it's brilliant. I'm not sure I'd want to be out there on the grid at the moment with a World Championship at stake.
If you want to know what it's like to start a Formula One Grand Prix, go to Sky Race Control. You can ride on board with either of the 2 McLarens on the front row, or Sebastian Vettel, or Fernando Alonso. For Red Bull, the Constructors' Championship sealed for a 3rd consecutive year, this time last week in Austin, where it was bright blue skies. Today, it is a very different story here at Interlagos.
Raikkonen, I think it was, warming his tyres up. He definitely does know what he's doing. they'll be left foot on the brake pedal, right foot on the throttle, and then weaving around. You need to be doing a reasonable speed to have some downforce to get any temperature from weaving, but the brakes are very effective heaters.
So much could happen at the start. For McLaren, though, it could be a very pleasant afternoon if Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton can get away and control the race. Not since Canada in 2010 have we had a McLaren 1-2 at the finish, and Lewis Hamilton wanting to bow out in style as he says goodbye to the McLaren team in his 110th Grand Prix with them.
The juddering you could see there with Lewis. He's doing what they call a clutch bite point find. So they press a button that goes through a system to make sure that the clutch is exactly where they think it is. And he backed them up. He doesn't want to be sitting on the front of the grid too long, and it's a bit of a concertina then in the middle. Pole on the right-hand side. They say there's no delta, no difference between the two sides of the grid. I always think the left-hand side here is quite handy for the left-hander that's the first corner of this race.
So Vettel wins the title if he finishes in the top 4. Alonso has to finish in the podium positions to have a chance here. We'll take you through the permutations as we go on through the 71 laps.
Tension at Red Bull, they're still forming up on the back of the grid. They even seem to slow down there. The lights come on, look but never stare.
Stay out to see how the car behaves. We cannot fix it. It's not front wing. We cannot fix the damage.
Oh, it could not have gone any worse. In the space of 3 miles for Sebastian Vettel, that 13-point lead in the championship is not enough at the moment.
Absolutely not. So he's catching the back of the pack up. It's a question of whether there's any electronics or particularly cooling in there that's been damaged. So Alonso then very much getting himself into the position he needs to be in. Hulkenberg doing a great job for Force India there, just behind Mark Webber. Webber's got a job he can do now for his team. If he can keep Alonso off the podium, he can help, and it looks as if Bruno Senna might have been the driver to run into the back of the slow-starting Sebastian Vettel. Raikkonen, I think, nearly took Vettel out and dived off the track to avoid it.
And Sergio Perez as well, looks like he's stopped out on the track, and his race is over too. But what a championship climax we're building to now. And here comes Nico Hulkenberg and Mark Webber. Force India said they had the pace to...
Data doesn't look too bad right now. Data looks okay.
Down the retroposta we go, straight forward for Lewis Hamilton. DRS is now enabled, so there's more overtaking possibilities.
Fastest lap of the race so far, Sebastian Vettel in 20th place. Stay tuned, this is far from over, as he's now caught the back of the pack already.
There he goes on Charles Pic, and he moves himself up into 19th position. That's not good enough, but he's got 68 laps to try and repair the damage here. Hamilton, Button, Alonso, Hulkenberg and Webber, and what a start we got.
And Vettel got away, was able to get back past Alonso at this point, and had a bit of a wobble as he, that was Webber. Vettel was a little bit further down the field. He really did get mugged into turn 1.
Just look at Mark Webber moving over to the left here. I think he was trying to cover Felipe Massa, who called the double bluff really by going round the outside. And a great start from Massa. The Ferraris have been brilliant starters all season long. Got past Jenson Button, but Sebastian Vettel almost got covered and then blocked, didn't he, by his teammate?
Yeah, he did get a good start, as I thought, but then he looks like he's having to lift out for Mark Webber there, and that's when they steamed all around the outside, and it cost him dearly. Nearly cost him his front wing there against the Force India.
Now look for Raikkonen braking late. There you go. Almost took out Vettel. That's why he had to move wide, and it was Bruno Senna that went into Sebastian Vettel not once but twice, and Senna then trying a bunny hop over the rear wing of down to Ted.
And it started raining harder. That's why we're seeing Alonso off the track. I can see wet tyres being readied in the pits. No one coming in just yet.
Well, they can't afford to come in just yet. Is it going to be a brief shower or a long shower? They don't want to lose track position by making too early a pit stop. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel is up into 16th place now. He's cleared Vernon, he's cleared Glock, and he's cleared De La Rosa in the last couple of laps.
The DRS enabled, so they obviously don't think the track's wet enough, because as soon as it gets wet, they'll disable that. But Mark Webber then, he thought he had his chance to get past Alonso. Alonso went off the track, didn't gain a place, certainly managed to save a place. And this is a replay from early on at the end of the first lap when Alonso took the pair of them in one move that put him up into a World Championship position.
And this is where he went off the track, locked up into turn one, and he'd be mighty glad, Fernando Alonso, that is not grass down there now, and it's concrete, and he could come onto the track, only losing the one position to Nico Hülkenberg. But they're scrapping away. While we're watching the replay here, there's some great scraps going on into turn one, and this is Bruno Senna coming together with Fernando Alonso. Two hefty with Sebastian Vettel, two hefty whacks.
Yeah. And then replay, then no, it's not a replay. It's Massa's past Webber.
And there goes Kobayashi on Di Resta down the inside into the Skidoo de Largo as well. So Kobayashi's moved himself up into 7th place. And Webber can't quite get past Fernando Alonso or Felipe Massa, but he's giving it a real go every single lap. He's going to have Kamui Kobayashi right on him now in what is his final race for Sauber, nothing to lose. And we've seen plenty getting KK'd throughout the couple of seasons in the past.
And Kobayashi on the harder tyre that is definitely working very nicely indeed. We believe Raikkonen has gone on to intermediate tyres.
He's certainly come into the pits. You're right there, Martin. Michael Schumacher has come in as well, maybe for a change of tyres. Out in front, 0.6 of a second now between Hamilton and Button after 5 laps, and a gap then back to Hülkenberg. Who's that gone? Big crash. And through the gloom, it's the Grosjean in the Lotus. Grosjean is out of the race, and a hefty whack into the tyre going into the first corner, but the McLaren boys scrapping away now.
Great chance of a safety car there, I think. Great chance of a safety car there. I'd imagine that's in a very difficult position on a track that's clearly super slippery. As Button then with the help of DRS, and that's Webber round.
And 2 Red Bulls now spinning in the first few laps. Damage on the track, there's debris on the track down at turn 1. Button now stays behind Hamilton. I think he briefly got ahead and Hamilton retook the lead back. But this is so much drama at Interlagos. Every year we come here and say anything could happen, and you don't believe us? Well, just watch this. Jenson Button now down the Retta Reposta, moving up behind Lewis Hamilton.
Well, Button came off turn 3 so much better. Quite why he didn't end up ahead at the end, I don't know. He probably a little bit more cautious on the brakes into what is a very slippery braking zone for turn 4. And Webber then gets shoved around by the Sauber. Michael Schumacher was right in there as well. And this is Romain Grosjean. We're about to go on a trip straight to the scene of the accident.
Just got on the white line, didn't he? At Magulio, they call it the dive, and he dove straight into the tyre barrier. Yellow flags are waving. Slippery surface flag you can see there as well. It's a really, really greasy surface caused by the drizzle that is now in Interlagos, and it's Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button out in front from Nico. He's suffering and struggling with a complete lack of grip as we go back on board with Sebastian Vettel. Has the Sauber of Kamui Kobayashi just ahead of him. It's raining, as you can see on the camera lens down at Ferradura, and they're going to have to try and tiptoe around and not do anything too stupid here.
Oh, you need so much skill in these conditions. You just don't know how much grip there's going to be in the braking zone, on turn in the middle of the corner, or when you touch the throttle like that. It's really an adventure. Every lap it changes. You can't build any confidence in the track that there'll be enough grip.
It's a long race. Keep your car on the black stuff. That's what we need.
So we wait now to see who emerges on the main straight in the lead once again, and it is Jenson Button from Lewis Hamilton, from Nico Hülkenberg, and there comes Fernando Alonso. He's getting detached, he's falling further and further behind as the laps go on from the podium. Sauber dives into the pits. Sebastian Vettel then moves up another place as Kobayashi comes into the pits for what surely must be a change of tyres and intermediate tyres to go on. Down to you, Ted.
It's actually a broken front wing for the Sauber, so Kobayashi coming in as well. I'll take a look, see if I can see if he goes on to the Inters. The problem is that it's clearly raining here in the pit lane, but all the information is from the weather forecasters is that it's going to dry up, it's going to stop. So that's why teams are just waiting to see what happens.
And they have put intermediate tyres on as Rosberg and Verne get very close indeed. Going through the Skidoo de Largo behind them. Heikki Kovalainen's moved up past Daniel Ricciardo, and Timo Glock is right on his tail as well. Kovalainen up into 11th place.
Raikkonen's 2.5 seconds a lap slow on the intermediate tyres. That's good and valuable information for the front runners. It's not, unless you fly off the racetrack, they're not the tyres.
Okay, you are still faster than all cars on intermediate. This is the right tyre.
So getting the confidence boost from the pit lane there. A 1:26.2 on his last lap for Jenson Button, and Michael Schumacher comes into the pits once more.
Next up the road for Sebastian Vettel, Felipe Massa and Fernando Alonso.
And they're the two Toro Rossos getting to grief and losing a little bit of front wing there on Daniel Ricciardo. But just look, Martin, how he's struggling with the steering wheel to try and find any grip whatsoever through the center S's. There's so much debris down there as well, let alone a slippy track.
Massa ahead, be careful. He's been blocking for Alonso ahead.
As you would expect the dutiful teammate to do. Now, more intermediate tyres are going to be going on. It's Mark Webber coming in now from Red Bull, also into the pits, Rosberg and Ricciardo.
I think this is so they can get a feel, and it's starting to rain a bit harder. This is so he's gone past his past the pit's head.
Yeah, so I didn't see there's damage to Webber's floor as well. He skidded coming into the pit box. The mechanics had to jump out of the way, and that added about 3 or 4 seconds onto his stop.
So this is valuable information as well for the Red Bull team. They'll get Schumacher came out of the pits and inserted himself in a lap down, but into that fight. As they're both struggling like crazy in the McLarens. Schumacher on the intermediates coming back past the McLaren.
So what do McLaren do here then, Martin? They've got two guys out there struggling on the hard compound tyre. As you see Schumacher making a move on Hamilton. What's happening to Fernando Alonso out there? Really struggling. Second time in the race. He's gone off at the centre S's.
Favourite line through there today.
Certainly, and this is Mark Webber just overshooting. Oh,
yeah,
dear.
Wow.
Never want to be the man on the front, Jack, do you?
No, it wasn't just a plain overshoot. The car was all locked up as Ferrari and McLaren too.
And it's
Hamilton's in the pits.
Hamilton, not Button, coming into the pits. No chance of the double shuffle. They were too close together.
Oh, right rears, slow on. That looks like, I suspect that was a very, very late call there. And clearly they're going to put Vettel onto the intermediates as well now.
And Fernando Alonso also in for intermediate tyres as the pit crew get to work. Also coming in, Paul di Resta into the pits. And was Sebastian Vettel in there just slightly longer than Fernando Alonso? It wasn't a bad stop from the Ferrari guys, but the weather playing absolute havoc with strategy here. Down to you, 10.
Yeah, OK, so Hamilton's problem was that they were very late bringing the tyres out because it's a very tight garage here, and they were just late bringing the intermediates out. It was a late call, as you say. I had a look at Vettel's damage. It's considerable damage to the floor and to the left and the right-hand side. So his aerodynamic performance will be significantly degraded on that car, but it is drivable, it is raceable, and that was a good stop from Ferrari.
So Sebastian Vettel coming out behind Mark Webber and also Daniel Ricciardo as well. Wouldn't expect him to stay behind either of those two for very long as he makes a move on Ricciardo down into Ferradura. And Ricciardo trying to hold, but then running nicely wide for him.
It's stopped raining, it's stopped raining.
So Button, who stayed out, saying it stopped raining. That might actually have been a very good call indeed from his side of the garage.
Let's wait and see. But old Twinkle Toes in these conditions, he knows what he's doing, but Hulkenberg's happy as well. Hulkenberg 9/10ths quicker on that lap than Jenson Button, and this was Hamilton's pit stop. And we know that the right rear is going to be slow on. There it is.
Even when the light went green, still it was a problem getting away for Lewis Hamilton. Not one of McLaren's better pit stops of the season. It is Button from Hulkenberg, from Massa, from Hamilton, and there's Carter, Kayan and Peak getting very close together going into the first turn. Raikkonen, Vettel 17th.
Bet Caterham would like to stop the race now. Kovalainen P6 at the moment. And in fact, then you've got Petrov, Klopp, Della Rosa and Peak all in the points as well. Look at this, down the back straight.
And they've stayed out, of course, on the harder compound tyres and not switched to the intermediates. As past Raikkonen goes Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber as well. Fernando Alonso, meanwhile, is running in 12th place.
So now the intermediates have become a little faster. Rosberg a 1:26.9, Button in the lead a 1:29.2. So if Jensen's right, it needs to start drying out pretty quickly now.
With a track temperature of 22 degrees and an air temperature of only 19 degrees, you wonder just how quickly this track will dry out. As well, Mark Webber taking a very wide line there, lets his teammate scoot past. And behind them, Narain Carter-Kayan is struggling for grip, not for the first time this season in his HRT, as we ride on board a replay here with Lewis Hamilton. In front of him, Felipe Massa in the Ferrari. Hamilton pops himself up into 3rd place.
Massa's still on slicks, of course. He hasn't stopped, so Button Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg did a 26.3 that time. That's interesting. So that was...
And remember, P2 has won the last 3 Brazilian Grand Prix here at Interlagos. It seems to be the lucky position, and so far for Jenson Button, it's going very nicely, thank you, but there's a long, long way to go.
And just to remind you that Michael Schumacher's in that leading battle, but a lap down, having...
Thank you, Mark.
I think that's a nod of appreciation for letting this man, Sebastian Vettel, past him. And Vettel is now pressurising Nico Rosberg. This for 13th and 14th. Is there enough grip to get past at the second Esquina de Lago? No, there isn't. And that's Charles Pic going off in the Marussia. Back on board. Into Ferradura we go now with Sebastian Vettel. Still raining there, I think.
Alonso's 9th then, and Vettel in at 14th place. There wasn't a lot in it as they come out of the pit lane, was there, in terms of distance? But there's a lot in it in terms of traffic in between the pair of them now.
So the leaders, while Sebastian Vettel goes through Pico de Pato, have just completed their 13th lap. Button and Hulkenberg a long way clear of Lewis Hamilton, who's running in 3rd place, Massa 4th, Verne 5th, Kovalainen 6th for Caterham, Glock 7th for Marussia, and there goes Sebastian Vettel, great traction out of Jun Schau, and he's put...
Yeah, I still don't think that was anything to do. I don't think it was Senna's fault. He was very late on the brake, Senna, but under control. Vettel turned in from a very wide entry point and not thinking, not allowing any, surprisingly, allowing for anybody to be on the inside of the track, which was highly likely.
Mark Webber moves past the Caterham of Vitaly Petrov, which is one of his easier moves. You've been saying, Martin, for the last few days, tension on Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel's face. Was it the tension of that championship challenges? Oh, who goes off there? It's Timo Glock in the Marussia, just running wide, and he's lost about 3 or 4 places through the right-hander at Laranja.
Webber fancies a look around the outside there, and Rosberg taking the sort of karting line, as it were, where you tend to get a little more grip, where there's a bit of rubbish on the outside of the track. Webber more confident on the brakes than Rosberg in the Mercedes. Job done around the outside this time. Now inside of the Caterham of Heikki Kovalainen, and Webber on his way, but Vettel then. So that'll put him back up into 10th.
Ted, down to you. Weather forecast for us.
Well, a weather actuality is that it's still raining, and raining quite fine. So Jenson Button must just not be seeing it as he speeds round on those dry tyres. The teams are telling their drivers that it's going to last for another 5 minutes. That's their information anyway. Ferrari came out with wet tyres, Inters for Felipe Massa, but have gone in again.
Rear tyres are going off.
But Hamilton, who's on the Inters, complaining there that the tyres are starting to go off.
So it's Vettel then 8th, he's up to 8th now. So just 2 places behind Massa. He's been warned. Massa's been blocking for Alonso, which he was pretty feisty with it as Kobayashi goes through. There's Massa. He's on slick. No, he's on slicks, don't forget. He's just struggling, I think, with tyre temperature now, Felipe Massa.
So Sebastian Vettel, who's on the intermediate tyres, moving past him quite easily. What about Fernando Alonso? Haven't seen him for a while, behind Jean-Eric Verne, but not for long, on the intermediate tyres, remember.
But Hulkenberg is right on. He's now 0.9 of a second behind. He'll have DRS too. Hulkenberg is right on the back of leader Jenson Button.
We spoke to the sporting director at Force India on the grid, Martin, Andy Stevenson, who said, you know, we've got the car that can overtake people today. So it's been proven at the moment that Hulkenberg has got the potential, and he's got Jenson Button very much in his sights.
There so is Massa climbing the hill.
9/10 of a second is now down to 2/10 of a second. Hulkenberg, is he going for it into turn 1? Not quite, but maybe. He's there, hanging in still. Button just about holds on to the lead, but it's DRS now for Hulkenberg as through the centre S as they go, and Adrian Newey studying the damage to Sebastian Vettel's Red Bull.
Quick thinking there by the Red Bull team. X-ray eyes, though, I think you need, but they'll know exactly what's behind that, as Hulkenberg then shapes up to have a run at Button. Button was smart enough to leave him enough space in turn 1 in case he locked his brakes and got away with it. They both lived for another day.
Nico Hulkenberg's 39th Grand Prix start. He's never led a Grand Prix before, despite starting on pole here in 2010. And Force India haven't led a Grand Prix since Paul di Resta in Bahrain earlier this year.
And the slicks are now slightly quicker again than the intermediates. It's Massa, though, who's really struggling. So he's come in and put some inters on. I think he might have left that a day late and $1 short, because he's really missed the moment there, because it looks as if the track's, unless it starts raining again, the track is coming back to the slick tyres.
So we're on lap 17 of 71 here in Interlagos, and the championship is swinging backwards and forwards, and it is very much in Sebastian Vettel's hands at the moment.
Okay, Sebastian, you're fastest of cars on inters. Just pace yourself.
And remember, Fernando Alonso has to be in the top 3 to have a chance of becoming champion, and he's not at the moment. He's down in 4th place as Jenson Button locks up, and Hulkenberg is going to be there waiting for him again.
And the DRS line they've just crossed, so Hulkenberg will have DRS, and that Force India is quick in a straight line. So is the McLaren to an extent. But Jenson's got much better drive coming off turn 3, much better traction. So Hulkenberg's DRS is not a lot of good to him until he can find a bit of purchase in the racetrack there.
And there's that little dry line that you can see starting to appear a bit as through the 2 Desquilo de Lago they go. And guys on the slick tyres are about 4 seconds quicker on the previous lap than those on the intermediate tyres. So it's starting to come, as you say, Martin, back to the slick tyres again. Pedro de la Rosa keeps out of the way of the battle for the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Button ahead of Hulkenberg, but only just. Hamilton is a further 8.
30 minutes, we need to make these tyres last.
The Grand Prix are leading in Brazil. Jenson Button down to 2nd, Lewis Hamilton in 3rd, complaining about his tyres going off, and now coming into the pits for a very much needed pit stop. He had a gap to Fernando Alonso of about 16.5 seconds. It should be a 19-second loss if the pit stop goes according to plan, and it is, as Lewis Hamilton then moves out and into the pit lane again, and we wait for Fernando Alonso, who's also coming in to get rid of his intermediate tyres.
Vettel's got to cover that. Red Bull will have to cover that.
He stayed out.
All they've got to do is the same as Ferrari do, and just follow him home, and they've got the World Championship.
Well, he stayed out on the track. Ted, down to you.
It's dry tyres for both of them. Dry tyres for Lewis Hamilton, dry tyres for Fernando Alonso.
No surprise there, really. They're down in the 1:24s now in the lead, so they're 3-4 seconds a lap faster than the intermediate runners. Their tyres have burned out with the treaded pattern, and now we've got, it all changes again. But I'll be amazed if Red Bull don't react immediately and just caught it on 20 laps like that in my life. It's just going off everywhere, isn't it? Incredible.
Here's a bottle of water. Sit down, have a rest. We've got another 51 to go, and there's Lewis Hamilton out on track with the Red Bull just ahead of him. Sebastian Vettel.
Box.
And they are covering it. He's coming in after Ferrari came in the previous lap, so he'll move out of the way now, come into the pits, and Hamilton will pop back up into 3rd place as out come the guys from the garage.
So Hamilton went on to the prime hard tyre. Alonso went on to the medium compound white mark tyre. So different strategy there.
So he stops, and this time a much easier job for the man on the front jack. He'll be nursing his war wounds for a little while and probably break his approach. 22 seconds there on the clock.
So both Red Bulls then onto the hard compound tyre. The confidence in that is they think that they warm up, although they ultimately a more durable tyre, they warm up more quickly. There is Alonso, and the 2 Red Bulls should be coming out of the pits now. So Red Bull have absolutely covered Ferrari, and Vettel back into World Championship position. I cannot believe his left rear. That took such a whack, didn't it, down in turn 4 on the first lap, but pretty sturdy then.
And we saw Adrian Newey surveying the damage on the pit wall. Ted might have some more news for us.
Yeah, and I think there's more damage. More bits have come off Vettel's car since I last saw it come into the pit. So, well, it's in the exhaust area. There's plenty of hot gas going through that area on the left and right-hand side just before the rear tyres. So, yeah, damage increasing on Vettel's car.
And this is how the championship will look if it stays this way. Sebastian Vettel will become the youngest ever triple world champion, beating Fernando Alonso by 11 points. But still, there's 50-odd laps to go here, and anything could change. The Grand Prix, oh, there's a puncture for Nico Rosberg. Massive puncture as Felipe Massa moves past him. So that's Rosberg now down into 10th and limping back to the pits.
There has been a lot of debris down in turn 1 from the various incidents, or we see a lot of punctures like this if you tag somebody else's front wing. But Button's coming back at Hulkenberg now, the gap just 0.8, so now Jenson Button will have the advantage of the DRS down this straight. Vettel showing in 5th place, Alonso 4th.
And then you see the dry line there, Martin, and I mentioned a couple of laps ago, really starting to become evidence if you ride on board. Hulkenberg with the fastest lap. I said that Force India never won a Grand Prix. They haven't, but this team, remember, have in the past. When they were Jordan here, 2003, Giancarlo Fisichella in the rain, and they had to wait a few days for the trophy after it was originally awarded to Kimi Räikkönen that afternoon.
Kobayashi coming at Vettel now. Vettel will need to pick it up a little bit. He won't want Kobayashi anywhere near him. He's already tripped over Bruno Senna today.
Sergio Perez out of the race as a result of Senna and Vettel coming together. Now that is extensive damage, isn't it? That looks like it's been in a war or two, that car.
Bent exhaust going on in there as well, and where they might be in trouble is if that starts flailing around too much, they might just get the black and orange flag to...
There are too much debris on the track.
And it's been there since the opening lap. Guys having just to tiptoe around. We've seen a lot of debris, haven't we, at this first corner? Yeah, evidence there now. What bit of car and whose bit of car has that come off?
Fernando fancies a safety car at this stage of the proceedings. He's 65 seconds off the lead. He's thinking about it, isn't he?
Quite.
So there is a lot of damage. There is a lot of debris. Punctures can be...
well, maybe that's how Nico Rosberg got his puncture. Let's just have a look here. Certainly, I think he'd already got the puncture.
Yeah, he had, look. It was already, the right rear was already going down, wasn't it, as Jenson came up behind him. And the problem you have when you come into your garage like that is the chassis and suspension is so stiff on a Formula 1 car that if the right rear is down...
Safety car, Martin.
Yeah.
So, Fernando Alonso, whether it was a ploy to get the safety car out or a genuine concern, has resulted in Bernd Mailander coming out of the pits.
So Hulkenberg and Button will surely pit immediately. That'll allow them all to bunch up.
It's the only two in this race that haven't pitted yet. Where is Hulkenberg and Button? Just coming through Maguglio now and towards John Schau.
Well, they've got a 47-second lead, although, of course, and they're all limited to how fast they can now go. They've got earliest time of arrival at certain points, which is why in the background there you're watching Hamilton, for example, going quite slowly. And I'd be amazed if Hulkenberg and Button don't pit. They can get back out again and still be leading the Grand Prix.
It's actually come out at very much the right time, I think, for the two race leaders. And they are going to be pitting Jenson Button, and they're going to be pitting as well Nico Hulkenberg, because we can see the Force India mechanics waiting. So we have our safety car here in Brazil, 9th safety car. Affected race and into Lagos. It's the 7th, I should say, in the last 11 runnings here. And just brings us an air of calm for a couple of moments.
Hulkenberg exits the pit ahead of Jenson Button and maintains the lead. So the safety car will have to release quite a lot of cars and pick these pair up. I believe they will still lead the Grand Prix.
And it's Nico Hulkenberg onto the medium compound tyre, Jenson Button onto the... Oh no, I think they're both on the hard compound. They've just updated the tyre information on our little computer screen. The Force India guys who are actually still doing pit stop practice with about an hour and a half to go before the Grand Prix. And it worked for them, because they were a 10th of a second quicker on the change than McLaren were.
Look, some spots of rain again. Whatever's going to happen next? It's extraordinary.
What haven't we had yet? The safety car waving Mark Webber on as we pick up our race leader's teammate, Paul di Resta. Just to let you know, we talked about Heikki Kovalainen a bit earlier. He's been into the pits twice and now down into 16th. And Timo Glock from Marussia up into 12th place at the moment in that battle for 10th in the Constructors' Championship and all the money that goes with it. Down to you, Ted.
And McLaren fancied their chances of outperforming Force India in the stops there, but it didn't happen. Jenson Button hit his marks pretty well, but then the left rear was slightly slow going on. The gun was slightly slow actually engaging with the nut. And allied to that, an excellent stop by Force India maintained Hulkenberg in the lead.
Thanks ever so much, Ted. And finally, the safety car picks up our race leader, Nico Hülkenberg, as the man that he's replacing at Sauber next season is still trudging his way back to the pits again, and Charlie Whiting, the race director, and Herbie Blash alongside him. Plenty to examine.